Hi, Jack.
Hi, Trudy. How are you?
I am good. It's been a long time since we had you on this seat.
It's been like what, 2 years, 3 years?
Yes.
Yeah, it feels like forever though.
It-
Yeah, and actually, for me, it feels like the first time I'm being interviewed.
Good, good. We like to keep it fresh. All right, so let's
Yeah,
let's get to the heart behind this hustle, right?
yeah.
So what's something about you that people don't see at a first glance, but it's a big part of who you are?
People don't know that I'm introvert. Um, I like to get my own time, my own space. To walk in the park, meditate. Think about what is going on around the world, and just reflect. Because a lot of time, people see me in the fast lane, you know, having meetings, doing deals, trying to do business, working in the community, but they don't know this side of me. So, when I say this, some people are gonna like, "What, Jack?" No, but that's actually who I am at the core. Very introverted person, very to myself person. Like to take some quiet times. But yeah, it's just something that now I have spilled the secret.
Interesting. Yeah, because
Yeah,
I always see you front and center
yeah,
of things that
yeah,
are happening, emerging.
yeah, yeah,
Very
yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
So, Jack, I know you wear so many different hats.
Yes.
I feel like I've known a different version of Jack at every different setup.
Yeah.
So, what's the thread that ties all together for you?
So I think the thread for me is purpose. Once you know what you were created for, right? The most important thing is a lot of people take time to discover what am I supposed to be doing? Where am I supposed to be going? For me, it's purpose. So when I get into a room, I want to know why I'm in that room. What am I supposed to do? What's my function? What's my contribution? If I'm here to learn, then I want to learn, right? If I'm here to help carry the stuff, put whatever it is. So I want to get into a place with purpose. And I think that has helped me to be kind of, let's say, fully functional in every place that I go. And then that allows me to say, if I'm, going for a business meeting, or if I'm going for a consulting meeting, or if I'm going for something that has to do with the arts, because another thing about me is I'm also an artist, right? Whatever it is I'm doing, I have to first understand my function and my purpose. And the biggest thing that I realize is my purpose is to serve. I was created to serve. So whatever space that I'm in, I'm wanting to serve. I'm trying to say, how can I help, this person to get to the best place they can be? How can I, help this person to at least have the information that they need? How can I help this person to connect with the dots that they need to connect with to go to the next level? So when I started understanding that that was the reason why I was created, because everybody's created for a reason, right? When you come onto this earth, the most important thing is you need to discover your purpose early, go towards your purpose, and then maximize the potential that's within you. So I got to discover my purpose, and then I started working towards maximizing my potential. So whenever I'm in a room, I try to do it effortlessly, just be in there and do whatever I can do best.
Wow.
Yeah.
Spoken like a true leader. And I love the fact that it's purpose
Yeah.
that brings it up together.
Yeah.
Wow, that's profound. So when did you first know you were meant to do more than just one thing? And I really want to hear this because I am always so fascinated when I speak to people who are multi-talented. They're in so many different fields and they do it well. You're an example of that.
My first story is my parents took me to boarding school. I hated it. The first year of boarding school, I said, I don't want to do it. And they thought I was expelled. I said, no, 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 I want to go back to day school. The reason I needed to do that is the boarding school was good, but there was a part of me that was missing because even as a teenager, I already know I needed to be in different spaces. One of the things that I knew as a teenager is I needed to be involved in business one way or the other. So I wanted to be in a place where I'm going to be learning about business and doing that. The second thing is I needed to amplify learning about my art. So there was a creative art program as a child that was called Children's Performing Arts Workshop, where every Saturday I would go there. I'd practice my instruments. I'd practice my stage presence, my drama. I'd practice all of that. So when I was in boarding school, I missed that. They did have African instruments in the band and all of that, but it wasn't as curated as the program that I was, going to. So I said to my parents, I really need to come back because there's a part of me that's missing. So as a teenager, I already discovered that I needed to be in my lane. And I think it's a very important thing to know your lane, know the things that you want to be good at, the things that you're passionate about, the things that you want to do. So that's the time when it all started for me, right? And the second year, of my high school, I was already getting opportunities by that same organization. Hey, Jack, we've got a film academy. We've selected you for that. Hey, Jack, we want you to do that. So I even started learning about film production and all that at 14 years of age.
Wow.
So all of the things started aligning because I had a hunch that I wanted to do this. I was confident enough to talk to my parents about it. They were also compliant enough to say, okay, we don't understand what this teenager is talking about, but let's give him a shot. So it's a conversation, one between yourself, understanding yourself, learning about yourself, and then having another conversation with people. It could be parents, mentors, people around you. And then that helps facilitate putting you in the place you want to be. And then from that point onwards, by the time I finished high school, I was already getting opportunities to produce my first television show. So I was already starting my business lane. So my business lane started before I even went to college, right? I was the youngest producer producing television, and I'm learning how to handle money, and I'm learning how to do that. And then I'm realizing that a part of me is business, managing people, managing projects, managing ideas. And then I realized that, I also had a real passion for community. So even in my church, I was really just helpful with the young people. How do you help it? I was a Sunday school teacher. So there was so many things that I just needed to be doing at a given point in time. I don't know if that's what they call ADHD, but I couldn't just sit and watch. I need to be doing something. And because I just started to start looking for the things I need to be doing, the things that give me fulfillment, that's when I started getting into so many different lanes and being excited to learn. So I'm a big learner. When I get into the space, Trudy, I sit down and say, okay, is this the conversation lounge or where are we? What can I learn from Trudy? And I'm a very quick learner. So as you're doing your thing, I'm also learning from you. And that's how I end up getting into different spaces. So when you now hear somebody's having conversations with Jack, it's because I learned from you.
Amen. Because you're always learning.
Exactly.
And the best creators are the best learners.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
I absolutely love hearing that.
Yeah.
I really do. Because I am also similar in that way where I get bored very easily and I can't just focus on one thing. Life would be boring. So to meet someone you're doing it and you're in different spaces and you're enjoying it as you're doing all these things. It's very fascinating to me.
Yeah. We continue to learn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what keeps you grounded? Because you're getting pulled in different directions. How do you come back home?
It goes back to your first question. When you understand the core of who you are. So again, it's a bit of just having a lot of self-awareness, self-identity, knowing who you are. So when you bring it back and you say, who's that person, right? What's the core of that person and what's the function of that person? It allows you to pull yourself from everywhere else and say at the end of the evening, what are the things that I'm able to accomplish today? And I've also started learning. When I was younger, I was so ambitious. I wanted to be in too many spaces. Now I'm starting to say, hey, what are the things that I am good at? I want to be in that lane. And the things that I'm not good at, I want to work with people who are good at that. And then I amplify them to be able to succeed in every area. So I'm starting to learn to do better, right? Just really being selective in the space. So it sometimes appears like, oh, Jack is in so many places. Actually, I'm not. Actually, most of the time, I'm just working with people who are really good in this space, who are really good in that space. And all I'm doing is I'm just kind of getting in that place and realizing that, she's really good at what she does. Well, let's give her space. They're really good at what they do. So I get invited to get into meetings to talk about what do we do to govern this body? What do we do to have this project? What do we do to, make these donations? And all I do is I know a person who's really good at that. And I've become more of a connector now, so most of what I do now is just knowing the right person to do the right job. And it sounds lazy actually, but it helps me out to be able to really be grounded where I am.
Yes. Yeah. We all need connectors.
Yeah.
Because someone always knows someone who can do something or who's good at something. And it's very important to have that connector person who I have a connection. I have someone. Yeah. Wow. All right. So let's talk about lights, camera, real life.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is your domain right here. You've worked in film and TV. What's one powerful lesson from that world that applies to everyday life?
Patience.
Ah.
It takes patience.
Okay. I want to hear more.
So from the first time I started producing, and I told you I started at a young age, at every stage of my life, there has been challenges like everybody else. One thing that a lot of people miss is as soon as people start having challenges, they run away.
Uh-huh.
They don't want to wait. They don't want to wait for the process. They don't want to understand what does it take to get to the fine wine, right? So if you want to get the finest wine, you gotta wait for it. You know what I mean? And they say it gets better as it ages.
Oh.
So I realized that in the process of film, coming up with a production company, coming up with a streaming company, and like right now we're in our space. This is our Africa Life podcast space.
Yes.
Right? And we're building other studios. We're building studios for film. We're building studios for TV shows all over Iowa. Because, I fell in love with Iowa now.
Yes.
So
you're practically Iowan at this point.
I'm practically Iowan right now. So and I'm proud of that. I landed at Chicago airport. They say, where are you going? And I say, Iowa. They say, why Iowa? I'm like, let me tell you something. And then by the time I leave, I'm convincing the immigration officer to come at the Des Moines International Airport. So that's how much I love it. But anyway, so it's really that patience that has allowed me to learn how to do things better. And because of the years that I've put into the craft, right? Understanding stories, understanding what are the things that people want to hear, the psychology behind when people watching a movie, if people want to listen to a podcast, what is it that they want to talk about? Because it's not just listening. We want to listen so that we reflect, so we can have a conversation after. Did you hear that conversation that Trudy and Jack had? It inspired me. It made me think about 1, 2, 3 things. So when you think around all these aspects, right, it takes a process to get there. So it's taken me years to get to where I'm at now. But I'm at a place now where I now understand some nuances that have to do with storytelling. Storytelling from a cultural perspective, as people who come from Africa, storytelling from an Iowan perspective as people who live in Iowa, storytelling from a United States perspective, from a global, all these, perspectives. And then being able, like I said earlier, to know, oh, this is the best person to direct this sort of a film. This is the best person to produce this sort of a film. This is the best person to come and have, like we've got Kevin here helping us with our, podcast. So every type of, step of the way, you've got to be able to understand the process. And that's how you would make better processes, better productions, and better value, because your value increases the better you know how to place your things in the right space. So for my film and TV journey, it's been a long process to get here. And again, I keep learning.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I love that. Patience.
Yeah.
Do we have patience? That's what
question.
it takes.
That's a good question. And I'll ask you this, especially in business, a lot of people try something and they leave it pretty quick. Do we have patience to get your show to 1 million viewers? Or are you just going to leave it quick? I guess it's not working out. It's a question of, throwing back at you.
Yes. Hey, anybody who's watching, push that subscribe button. Apparently we have a challenge here. Yes, we have the patience to make it to 1 million viewers. Let's do it. I mean, I have a whole production team. Yeah. Actually, as a matter of fact, a little plug. Yeah. This space is actually, this is Africa Life Network space that, they're giving us a space today. And then the production is by Kevin, Caro Kim's Media. So, hey, we have the 3 giants in the room. We can make it happen. And then your podcast is Conversational Lounge. You got this. All right. So let's take it back to you, Jack. So if your journey was a movie, since, this is your space, what would it be called? And what's the message behind that title?
Jack Sparrow.
Ah.
Did you watch the movie?
Yes, Sparrow? I love all of them.
So I want to think of myself as a captain, right? And I want to be a captain of taking this ship of African narratives to the right destination. I feel like there's been so many pirates, and they've been taking our stories and throwing them in the water. Sometimes they've been putting them on the wrong islands, and our story hasn't reached the destination. There's a beautiful story about being African, being Kenyan, being Zimbabwean, being somebody from one of the most beautiful continents in the world. And people haven't heard that story yet. And all they will ask you is, do you have paved roads? Do you have electricity? Do you have all of these things? But there's a much more finer, exciting story that if they would sit with Trudy at the Conversational Lounge and ask Trudy some questions, they would want to visit Kenya tomorrow.
Yes.
So that's part of what I want to do. I want to be that captain in this movie, and I want to be able to kind of really help, steer it on, even in the storm, because sometimes there's a big storm if you're a captain, right? You've watched Jack Sparrow, and the people will come in, and it's a battle to really get to the destination. But I'm convicted that somebody has to take this ship. Right, and I'm not embarrassed to be that person. So I'm going to be that person. Even sometimes people think, oh, he's a crooked, captain. Why is he using that route? No. I have a plan, but I need people like you, Trudy, to help us to get there. So if you want to jump on the ship, and Kevin and everybody else who's into this whole storytelling lane, I believe we can get somewhere with this particular part of the movie. So where are we at right now? We're almost like at the middle of the movie, where we know it's going to go, but we don't know yet what's going to happen to kind of get to the end. So if we really put, some time on it and get some popcorn, we'll get to the end of the film.
Wow. Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Jack from Africa Live Network. All right. So any advice that you have for dreamers who feel like they're off script right now?
Believe. The biggest thing is we stand out there, we get into an interview, we get into a space, but we're talking about all these words. We're talking about our resume, we're talking about experience, academic, but we don't believe. So the difference is getting into a space and believe. Believe in yourself first. Believe you were created to make an impact. So when you get into spaces and you're a believer, it's totally different. Because when you believe, I will believe you because you believe yourself. Have you seen that there are people who, when they're talking, they not so sure about what they're saying, and you can see in the way they walk, not so confident, right? You can see in the way they write their email, not so clear. But maybe would you like to explain this email to me? But if you're a believer, even if it's a one-liner, I know this is what Trudy is talking about. So believe in yourself first. Take away the doubt. Take away those preconceived ideas that where I come from, I can't be great. Where I come from, I cannot be a millionaire. Where I come from, I cannot be a business person or a leader in the community. I cannot lead people to get into a better space. Where I come from, there's all these beliefs. And it doesn't matter whether you're, from the United States or you're from Europe or you're from Asia. A lot of people have this challenge where there's a lack of self-belief and self-conviction. So the moment you believe in yourself and you know who you are, your worth, your value, whatever you do comes true. It starts with the mind. So the mind builds all the possibilities. So the moment you get in space, you already know that this possibility is true. What you do is as you walk towards it, it starts happening. When I started Africa Live, I didn't even know what it was. I just knew this concept is great. Let's do it.
You had a dream.
And now when it starts folding up and I get calls and, people are offering, hey, could you partner with us in this project? We need you in Atlanta. We need you in DC. We need you in this part of the world. I'm like, oh, okay. I get surprised with my own vision, but I already believed in it before it started. So before you do anything and you're a dreamer, you need to wake up from that dream and actually believe it's actually going to come true. But then you got to put some work to it. That's the challenge. It's not just about being a dreamer and a believer. You got to put work into that belief, into that dream, so that it actually comes true.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Now,
Yeah.
I'm gonna let's talk about like why this all matters, right? Because I know you've talked about, the dream and connecting people and being the connector and whatnot, and really just encouraging people to dream big and believe in themselves. So I know we also touched on different aspects of your journey.
Yeah.
Not only are you in the film industry, you're also very heavily engaged in the community. Yeah. You serve in so many nonprofit organizations and you support so many different aspects of the fabric that's Des Moines, Iowa, right? So in one of those arms and those things that you do, you have an event coming up.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that event? And you probably have multiple events that you'd like to talk about. Knowing you probably know about several things. So this is your moment to bring us in.
Yeah. So probably the event you're talking about right now is the Cultural Bowl, right? And I work with the Cultural Bowl as a consultant, right? And, the Cultural is really special to me, right? Short story. So I started off in Cultural as a cultural ambassador. And when you're an ambassador, again, you come and tell your story. So I would come and I would talk about the Zimbabwean story. What food do we, do we eat? and then I would be so excited about my country, because I always tell people it's one of the most beautiful, I wouldn't say the most beautiful, so one of the most beautiful countries, in Africa.
Okay.
Although I believe it's the most. But,
we'll give you one of.
I'll take one of, so that we're not fighting on your set.
Okay, good,
it's your
good.
set. But it was my set.
Zimbabwe will
is
be
the
taking
most
charge.
But yeah. So anyway, so I ended up bringing my congas. I would play some, African drumming. I'd teach some music, and it was so exciting. And one of the things was that exchange of culture. And I know you've talked about it in one of your, episodes before, where everybody has a culture. So I like the connection of the fabric where everybody starts understanding, oh, this is your culture, tell us more. And as we're doing that, I'm also learning about their culture, because like I said, I'm a learner, and it was because of that I got into the fabric. I fell in love with, how cultural moves. When they started organizing events, I was so involved. And before I knew it, I was part of the team. And now, as part of the team, I get into organizations and help people understand what's the background behind what you're doing. How can your team understand each other better? How do we work better? So going towards the bowl, one of the biggest thing is to say, everybody comes out for an evening. We get an opportunity to travel the world in one evening. You get to go to Asia, you get to go to Africa, you get to go to Australia, all in one evening, tasting different types of food, looking at different fabric, dancing to different type of song and dance. I'm actually going to be one of the instructors of dance.
Oh, wow.
So
Oh, my
teach
goodness.
some African dance.
Okay.
It's something that a lot of people don't know, but I do try to dance. I'm not like an expert, but I do try to dance.
You're teaching dance. That sounds like, okay.
So if you come there, you can watch me, teaching you some African dance, some things and steps from Zimbabwe, but also a little bit of Afro beats as well, because they're like some really popular Afro beats that some people are butchering out there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's do it.
Really?
So it's going to be a nice, night of fun. So if you are close to Iowa, if you can be in Des Moines on the 20th of September, it's a fun evening, right? And you're going to have a good time. But beyond that, you also want to really connect with each other, because part of it is saying, how can I connect with people who are different to me? How can I understand? I'm curious about a lot of things, because sometimes we're curious, right, about, the way they wear their turban, or the way they put their cloth on, or why do they cover their face, and all of these things. So it's an opportunity to come and learn, ask questions, be involved, and spend a really great time with people that coming from all the parts of the world. So I'm excited about the 20th of September, and I'm excited that I'm part of the team that's planning it, because I feel like it's going to be an opportunity to connect. And one of the most important things that everybody gets an opportunity to share their own story. So if you come, Trudy, you get to connect with people and share your own story about Kenya, and people get to share their story about Jamaica, they get to share their story about India. Everybody has a great time. So I think for now, that's the only event that I want to talk about.
Okay.
But when you stay, connected with me and, all the things that I'm involved in, you're going to realize that there's a lot of things happening with One Voice, part of the organizations that I see as, the president, as you see it as the vice president. And we have a lot of events coming up too, and we've got a whole lot of other things from the different organizations that you're part of, and you sit on the board, and I'm part of, and I sit on the board. And we just want to make sure that the community continues to connect. So let's meet on the 20th of September and talk about this.
Yes. Come, look at calendars. Let's come on the 20th of September and just get to connect. So, I love dress codes and,
You like to dress up.
I like to dress up. So is there a dress code?
Do you have an outfit picked yet?
I'm about to, once you give me the information right now.
Well, you can dress whichever way you want, right? So if you want to come out and, have a Kenyan cloth out there, it's up to you. If you want to wear something totally different, if you want to try out something from any culture, really it's going to be about exploring. So you get to explore yourself too on this day, but make sure you've got dancing shoes on as well.
Oh, okay.